F is Forget-Me-Not by Milk Wolf. Rocking calmly back and forth, a gray Pegasus mare dressed in a thick leather duster sat in a rocking chair. She was laid back and relaxed, a fedora covering the top of her long, blonde, dusty mane as she enjoyed the quiet day. The air was cool and the town life around her was at peace. It was a fine day. Dark clouds were above and a cool breeze was in the air. Yes, it was a good day. Buildings around her seemed inactive. It was a slow day in this town, and she liked it that way. Though, across from her, two small foals came running toward her. One was an orange-coated earth-pony filly with a yellow mane. The other, a smaller buck with a blue coat, and a short white man on his little head. Neither of them seemed to have their cutie marks, and looked at things, they seemed interested in her. Deep down inside, the gray mare prayed they didn't come to her, but one could only hope for so much. "Lucy!" both foals exclaimed cheerfully as they approached her. Sound in her voices broke her peaceful time outside. "Yeah?" She replied, sitting up straight in a rocking chair. The little bug spoke first. "Clairship told me you know an amazing story, like the bestest one ever." The filly Clairship said. "Somebody says I'm lying." "Duh, my dad tells the best stories. Bet Lucy ain't got a tale worth telling at all." "Nuh-uh, she does too know the bestest story," Clairship rejected. "No, she doesn't. Yes, she does." At this point, Lucy was becoming frustrated by the continuous pace of the children's argument. So sighing, she raised her hope to silence them. "Listen, kids, I'm not too fond of telling a story. Frankly, I was enjoying my peace and quiet." "But Lucy," Clairship begged. "Sorry, kids, I just don't..." Out of nowhere, she stopped speaking mid-sentence. Something had caught her attention. It was a stallion, clad in a suit of thick, dark power armor. An army helmet and a red visor, along with a breather piece, covered the stallion's face. Only his red horns stuck out from the helmet's top. A thick duster, not unlike her own, covered the rest of his body. What was odd about him, though, was that in no part minus his horn was showing, uncovered by thick metal plating or by the duster. Galloping at an easy pace, the stallion came up to Lucy and the foals. Lucy seemed surprised to see him, as both a look of surprise and confusion could be seen in her eyes. What are you doing here? I thought you were on patrol." The voice of the old stranger was low and dull, yet stern and calculated.
"I just completed a patrol. I have acquired spare time."
"That fast," she added. He did not respond, rather just gave her a simple nod. The armor-clad stallion looked at the foals in front of her. It looked like he had been groveling before her.
"Why are they groveling to you?"
"Do you want me to tell them a story?" I said no. The huge metal-clad pony sat down on the ground.
"I have acquired time,"
said Clairship. "He wants to hear the story." Lucy looked back at the metal pony with a mournful yet nostalgic look. "Well, have you heard the story from when I was younger?"
"Negative,"
the stallion replied. She rubbed the back of her neck with a sad look about her. "I didn't think you would have." Clairship hugged Lucy's leg and stared out with wide, adorable eyes. She whimpered. Lucy felt down deep inside that she didn't want to tell a story, especially the one they wanted to hear. The only reason she told anyone the story beforehand was because the whole group of ponies wanted to hear it. But now, in the presence of him, this changed her outlook on the whole situation. The small filly begged once more. Lucy sighed and made herself comfortable in her seat. "Okay, but just this once." Dazzled with joy, Clairship sat down with her friend and eagerly awaited to hear the story once more. A sadness turned around in her stomach as she spoke. And while it did take some determination, she forced her to tell the story. "Well, where should I start?" "Grandma, Mommy told me you have a secret from when you were a girl." "I did have a secret." "Will you tell me it?" "All right. It began a long time ago." Sorry, I love the trailer for Nadia. trunk of a old wagon flipped open. Dust scattered itself in the air as light dimly touched the dusty objects within. A red unicorn stallion, with long, scraggy brown mane, coughed away the hoof around his face to clear the dust. His light brown eyes scanned the contents of the trunk, only to find nothing of value was inside. Patting down his brown trench coat, he shook his head.
Well, nothing.
A little gray Pegasus filly with a yellow mane stood there looking at him sadly. No food? Not even a little?
Not even a mouse-sized little.
Nodded the red stallion. Both of the ponies stood there and looked up at the long, desolate road. Old banged, deteriorating carts lined the sides of the cracked and blasted highway. At least I stole the good carts already. It's still not a thing, the filly said in a discouraged tone.
Hey, kiddo, cheer up.
The stallion said with a smile.
We'll find something. We just gotta try a little harder, that's all.
As a side note, if any of these stories ends up inspiring any of my listeners to do a Fallout RPG and use one of these as a story or a baseline, let me know. I would love to hear about it. In the distance, the ruins of what seemed a large city could be seen. Tall, ruined buildings stood still as the dark clouds hovered above, with the wind whistling. So that I'm hungry.
Well, that simply won't do. It won't. Come on, let's keep moving. Maybe we'll find us something tasty.
The stallion turned enthusiastically. Trotting lightly, they both continued down the road at an easy pace. What do you think we could find to eat in the city, Wester? The filly asked.
Not sure. Maybe cake. Or better, cupcakes.
The pony called Wester replied. The filly's mouth watered at the thought of warm cupcakes filled her mind. With that pink squirrely frosting?
You bet, kiddo.
Wester chuckled. Moving farther up the road, they saw a roadside market. Markets such as this were common shopping centers outside the large cities. More importantly, food might just be inside, ripe for the taking. Pausing alongside the road, Wester stared at the door cautiously.
We could try there.
The filly scanned the area around the store and said uneasily, Doesn't look like there's any pony in there. Do you think it's safe?
If we move quickly, we should be fine. But you're right. There's usually something hanging around these stores. Hopefully no pony's home, so it might just get lucky with this one.
Coming up to the store, both ponies moved carefully around the side of the building. The filly followed closely behind Wester, who had a gun on his leg ready to fire. And opening his holster, he peeked around the corner of the store. He intended on entering from the back of the building. That way, even if there were perhaps someone inside, it would be less likely to get their attention. Like he had thought, there was a back door with nothing around it. Gesturing the filly to move on, they both tried to enter the door. As they approached it, a sense of hopefulness built itself inside them. Only just as Wester tried opening the door, he found that it locked tightly. The once hopeful feeling they felt faded away instantly.
Great,
Wester grumbled. What are we going to do, Wester? At his side was an old metal pipe that had fallen off the building. Picking it up in his mouth, he mumbled,
Stand back, Lucky.
Like he instructed, she took a few steps back, and with several powerful swings at the doorknob, it snapped off, causing the locked door to easily move back. Spitting out the old pipe, Wester continued to spit out the nasty taste that was in his mouth.
Lucky, remind me that pipes don't taste good, make good food.
Lucky giggled. You're so silly, Wester. Wester smiled at her and pushed the door open. It was almost completely dark inside the store. And minus the sounds of metallic echoes he had made from his pipe, it was quiet.
Seems to be empty,
Wester said, poking his head through the door. Does that mean there might be food in there? Lucky gasped, happily with wide eyes.
Yep, sure does, kiddo. But just remember, vandalism is wrong.
Lucky rolled her eyes at the silliness, followed him inside the old pre-war structure. Wester pulled out a flashlight from his saddlebag, and with Lucky's help, he tied it to his shoulder. The building creaked and moaned while they walked on. Their footsteps echoed off the walls, almost giving the illusion that someone else might be there. Broken and smashed, dozens of aisles that once had food seemed to be bare. Only rusted and crushed up cans remained, Lucky picked up one of the cans dishearteningly. Oh, so much for food. Western walked over to the right at the very last aisle. For next to it was a pushable door labeled storage. Smiling, he waited so for her to come.
There might be something in storage. You never know what we might find.
She galloped over to him, and together they pushed open the door to the storage room. Sadly, not much could be found in the storage either. All that would have been left were old metal boxes on shelves that were either tipped over or smashed. Wester pointed to one section of the small storage room.
Go check those boxes over there. They don't seem as smashed as the others. I'll take these shelves over here.
Lucky stepped over to the boxes Wester had mentioned, feeling down about their misfortune. With each step she took, she kicked one of the empty, rusted cans inside, till she almost tripped on something. Stumbling slightly forward, she looked down at the kind of heavier object that could have caused her to trip. Oddly enough, there, rolling away from her, was a can of beans. A fairly large one at that. Picking it up, her eyes lit up with joy. Wester! Wester! Look what I found! She bouncing over to him. He blinked a few times at her, trying to light down on the object she was carrying. Once his own eyes saw what she was happy about, he too looked up with a cheerful mood.
Why, Lucky, that's my girl. This would be plenty for both of us.
Lucky glanced down at the worn labeling can. That should be enough for both of us, but they're a little old and a little stale.
I'm glad me and the beans have something in common.
Wester chuckled. Stop it. She laughed playfully, nudging him in the foreleg. You're not old. Their happy moment did not last long. A sudden loud bang instantly sent the frightening chills down their spines. The bang was followed by the sounds of doors being slammed open. What came next was the last thing they wanted to hear. The voices of other ponies, but not just the voices of scavengers, but sound raiders. Wester put a foot to his mouth and motioned Lucky to follow him. Both ponies stepped slightly as they came to the door that led back out to the store, before placing their heads against it. Together, they listened to the unexpected company to confirm whether or not they were friendly. From what they could hear, it sounded like there were 3 ponies, each stallions, with rough, scratchy voices. Wester turned off his flashlight quickly and listened to them speak. Next up, check over there. The boss will have our hands and come back at the hoof. Dozer, you check those aisles and keep that gun of yours ready. There's a whole pack of ghouls around here. Last thing we need is stumble onto the fuckers. Pushing the door slightly open, Wester stuck his head out to get a good look of who was there. Luckily, the cover of the darkness hid him well from the sight. As he scanned the market around him, he tried to see what weapons the ponies were armed with. It's already clear one had a gun. It's likely the others did too. In the darkness, he could faintly make out the shapes of the ponies. From what he could see, it looked to the roughly configured armor made from the various pieces of scrap. Along with what looked like outrageously styled manes, he was absolutely sure they were raiders. Moving his head down to the little filly at his side, he whispered,
Lucky, stay close to me. Step lively. If we're careful enough, the darkness will keep out of sight. Now we're going to go back the way we came, so it should be simple, right?
She nodded at him. Right, easy peasy. He smiled at her and pushed the door open slightly for both of them to move through. Just as Lucky left the storage room, Wester eased the door shut and led her back the way they came. They kept themselves low, using the aisles as cover. All the while, they did their best to avoid the dozens of cans that littered the floor. One of the raiders' footsteps echoed loudly off the walls as they scavenged. You find anything? One raider called out. Nope, not a fucking thing. And what hell there was a fucking lie here. Here, let me see if the lights work. Sometimes these old places got generators, the voice replied. 2 ponies continued to move easily to the back exit. And thus they did, a loud click echoed through the store. A loud hum followed, and a few lights overhead flickered on. Once the shadow-covered store was now flooded by light, exposing the 2 ponies. One raider had just left an aisle and saw them. What the hell? I found somebody! Several insane laughs followed from the pony named Hijack, who could be heard dancing over to his comrade's position. They'll just stand there, kill him! Rest meat. They'll let the boss be happy about this. Terror filled the two ponies, but Western knew she needed to be protected. Pushing her forward, he shouted at her as he charged the pony and spotted them. Run, Lucky! I'll hold him off. Lucky did as he was told, and ran out toward the back exit. Western pulled out a knife from his sheath on his coat. Sprinting toward the raider, he tackled the pony fiercely. Like he had guessed, the raider was armed with various pieces of scrap. What was even more relieving was the fact the pony only had a spiked bat as a weapon. Both of them wrestled on the ground, tugging and beating each other ferociously. With the knife gripped firmly in his mouth, Wester took huge clean swipes at the raider. Large bloody gashes were across the raider's body, and blood profusely leaking from his wounds. The raider named Hijack, a purple unicorn stallion with a large mohawk mane, saw his comrade fight with Wester. In the corner of his eye, he saw Lucky running towards the exit. Look, Hacksaw, get the girl! I'll take care of this fucker. Floating at Hijack's side was a double-barreled shotgun ready to fire. From his current position, both Dozer and Wester were in view. It was difficult to take a shot, so he galloped toward the two in hopes that he could blow Wester's head apart next to him. Wester finally managed to pin the raider to the ground and slammed the end of his knife into his neck. Blood shot out from the wound, and with each of the pony's fading heartbeats, more blood was squirted out like a fountain. Laughing madly, Hijack with his weapon came right next to Wester, pointing the gun's barrel against the back of his head. He smirked, Natty, natty, asshole! Before he could fire, Wester ducked, and when the first shot of the raider's gun went off, Wester got low. Using his hind legs, he bucked the raider in the face, causing him to stagger back and drop his weapon. Hijack swore before he recovered himself. By then, Wester already had the gun in his mouth, and with the last shot, Wester shot him in the head from point-blank range. Falling to the ground, Hijack's body twisted unnaturally. Wester dropped the gun from his mouth, tasting the blackened raider's saliva. Although, his eyes widened as a terrible sound froze him. Wester, help! Lucky cried toward the end of the store. Long ago cries for help, he heard the devilish chuckles of the raider named Hacksaw. Stop squirming. I'm just gonna have a little fun with you is all. Furrybeard widely inside him, sprinting as fast as he could, he made his way to the source of the cries. There, near the exit they came through, was the raider. His hose wrapped around her with a huge grin spread across his face. Wester! She cried once more, tears rolling down her cheeks. Rage filled his mind. The magical aura surrounded his horn. His eyes glowed brightly as the magical energy consumed his body. And with a powerful blast of magical power, the raider let go of Lucky and rose up into the air. Bucking and fighting, the raider panicked as he was lifted higher and higher into the air. What the hell? Put me down! Fucking put me down right now! He wailed in panic. But soon the raider started to be consumed by the magical energies around him. And screaming horrifically in pain, he disintegrated into a fine dust. No sooner had the raider turned to the dust than the power around Wester faded. With all the magical energy gone, he fell to the ground, coughing hoarsely. Lucky was shaking, and as the soft specks of dust fell on her, she saw her friend kneeling on the ground, coughing. Wester! She exclaimed, rushing to his side. Each second cough Wester made caused loud amount of blood to come spilling out of his mouth. His legs were trembling, and his voice had become low and raspy. She had one hoof on his back, patting him gently. In an urgent tone, she asked, Wester, are you okay? You did it again. You used your magic again. Taking deep breaths, Wester stood up, wiping the blood from his mouth.
I'm fine, Lucky. It's just, he had you and...
No! Sierra interjected. I know I was in danger, but you know what happens when you use magic. You know what it does. She hugged his leg tightly, sobbing into the sleeve of his brown coat. He looked down at her, tremble on his leg with her eyes on the verge of tears. And hugging his leg tighter, she muttered wearily, Please, promise me you won't use your magic again. I don't want you to hurt yourself. He coughed lightly a few more times before responding.
Lucky, sometimes
No, promise me, she said, tearing up while hugging him. Placing his other foreleg around, he whispered back to her,
I promise. I promise I won't use my magic again.
She looked up at him, sniffling. You promise?
I do.
He answered softly with a warming smile. Patting her on the back, he said in a reassuring tone,
Come on, kiddo. Let's get out of here. It's getting late.